Greetings! I am Tantus Naraban Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome! It's time to continue our talking about the history of Magic the Gathering. I'm going to talk about a new set today. I'm going to talk about 4th edition of Magic the Gathering. So, let's just get right back into it. So the 4th edition was released in April of 1995, as it sounds like it was the 4th expansion release of the core sets. There was 378 cards in the set, and this was the first core expansion to have some reprints from Legends and the Dark. Now, of course, it had all the basic lands, but this was also the first set to be published in Asian languages, such as Japanese. So in total, this set was printed in 7 different languages. And this does not include English and Japanese, which I just mentioned at least one of. So it was in total 9 languages that this set was printed in. Now, in English, the set had white borders. But in some of the foreign languages, they actually did have black borders around the cards. So you can actually find 4th edition cards in foreign languages in black borders. Certain countries only got black borders, while other countries got both white and black border printing. So on this set, the colors were brighter and crisper than in how it had been in Revised. The cards were also the first to include the copyrights information properly down in the bottom, copywriting it to Wizards of the Coast at the bottom of the cards. Beforehand, they'd only mentioned the artists down there and hadn't given full information for copywriting. So this was the first set that the booster packs actually had some card artwork on them. Up before now, the booster packs were pretty bland in their designs. Now they started to put card art on the booster packs. There were also some marked improvements in the starter packs and the way they were visually showed. This set had a red theme to all its packs, which actually stayed through the next set up until 6th edition when they changed the theme to more of a green. So the starters were improved in another way. Now they had 3 rares in them instead of 2, which they had previously, but they also then removed a number of uncommons, so they had less uncommons in the starters. Also, you could only find lands now in the starters. No longer could you find lands in the booster packs. You'd have to get a starter pack in order to get any lands. This era also introduced the modern tap symbol. Now, the modern tap symbol has had slightly graphical redesign, but the general idea of it is here. And the general design of it was developed in this time period and released in this time period. Now, the booster packs had 1 rare, 3 uncommons, and 11 commons in them. Now, there were some cards removed from this set, mainly because of some controversies. Some previous controversies with some religious themed cards, with some cards that had like nude or near nude figures in it, they were removed. Some of the artwork was reworked, such as with Unholy Strength, to remove some of the controversy to it and make it look a little more accepting. The dual lands were also removed at this point in time. They've been seen as being too powerful, and a few other cards which in the revised set had still been seen as too powerful, even though they were printed there, were removed. A few of these would actually come back into the sets at a later point in time, but for now, they were gone and out. During this time period, Magic did experiment with using a different printer than the one they had been using up until now. This other printer did create some 4th edition sets. They were never meant to be released to the public, but some starter boxes were released. These cards have slightly different look. They're a little thicker. One of the major differences is up until now, the cards would glow under black light. These did not. So they were 4th edition cards, but they were a little different, and they are a lot rarer. So now I'm going to talk about some of the more famous cards. There's not going to be a lot of them that I'm going to go over because I've talked about a lot of the famous cards in some of my previous videos that were reprinted in this set, but I do want to mention a few that were here that still remained important to this set. The first I want to talk about is Balance. Now, Balance, its special ability is when you play it, you count up however many lands everybody has. Whoever has the least amount of lands, everybody else sacrifices down to that number. Do the same with creatures. So if I have 4 lands, someone has 5, they would sacrifice down to 4 lands. The same thing, if they have 2 creatures and I have 3, I would sacrifice down to 2 creatures. Every player in the game does this. This is one of the few powerful cards still left in here, and is considered one of the more powerful cards left in the set. Another one is Strip Mine, which is actually, this is the only point in time that Strip Mine was reprinted in a core set since Antiquities. It's looked at as being pretty powerful because you can tap it, sacrifice it to destroy a land. Now, land destruction has always been seen as sort of like this negative connotation to Magic, and they tend not to have a lot of it. They still keep it around occasionally here and there because it is something that is still popular and useful. but they don't encourage it as much. So this was the last point in time that they seemingly did with these lands in the set. I did want to talk about Unholy Strength with its reprinted art, where they removed the sort of pentagram symbol in the background to remove some of that religious connotations to a card called Unholy Strength, which sort of wasn't needed, I don't think, but again, it was some controversy to it, so they did remove it. As I said, there are a whole lot of cards that I've already mentioned before in some of my previous videos that were reprinted in this set, and I don't want to go over them all. I've talked about these cards. If they're reprinted in this set, they are important to think about. You could have gotten them in this set rather than the original one that they were printed in. You can find the full list online if you are interested or curious as to what cards actually were in the 4th edition set, but I just wanted to mention these few because the two that I mentioned first, they were used in a lot of popular deck formats during this time period. Deck formats have come and gone of versions of decks built around certain themes. Some of them still exist now or are reimagined as new cards come out, but the theme decks used balance and strip mine. There was two major ones that were around during this time period, which were very popular, hence why these cards were popular during this set. Anyway, that's all I want to talk about today. I've gone over 4th edition Magic the Gathering. I've explained it to the basic history, some of the things that changed with it, some of the alterations between revised and now. So if you have any questions, comments, anything you think I left out, please leave them in the comments below. Please like this video. It's a good way of showing your support. Please subscribe if you already haven't. We're always looking for more members, more citizens of the Empire. Please share this video if you think there's anybody who'd be interested in it or learn anything from it. And until the next time, I bid you farewell.